In a remote village called Zango, there lived a woman named Salima, a woman so poor that even the ground beneath her feet seemed richer than her life. Her clothes were nothing more than torn fabric, barely holding together, and her hut, it wasn't really a home. The roof leaked whenever it rained, and the cold wind slipped through the broken walls at night as if the world itself was mocking her suffering. She had no bed, no comfort, just a hard floor where she curled up every night, trying to steal warmth from her own body. Every morning, she woke up with the same prayer on her lips, and the same disappointment waiting outside. Salima worked harder than most people in the village. She carried water, washed clothes, labored in fields, but no matter how much effort she put in, it was never enough. It was as if life had already decided her fate. While the women she grew up with were married, living stable lives with children and families, Salima remained alone. No husband. No child. No one. The villagers didn't just ignore her, they whispered about her. Some called her cursed. Others believed her presence brought bad luck. Even the men avoided her, afraid that her misfortune might somehow follow them home. And slowly, without realizing it, Salima began to believe it too. But even in that darkness, a small part of her refused to give up. One scorching afternoon, she walked to the river carrying a bundle of worn-out clothes. The sun was brutal, and the water shimmered under its heat, but for Salima, the river was the only place where her thoughts felt quiet. As she knelt and began scrubbing, lost in her routine, she suddenly heard something, a soft movement behind her. Instantly, her body tensed. Her heart skipped. When she turned around, she froze. Standing there was a woman unlike anyone she had ever seen. Her clothes were flawless, elegant, far beyond anything in Zango. Her skin glowed, her jewelry shimmered, and her presence carried a strange kind of authority. But there was something else too, something unsettling hidden beneath her smile. "Good day," the woman said softly. Salima hesitated before replying. "Good day, Ma." The stranger stepped closer, her eyes fixed directly on her. "My name is Kemi," she said. "And I know everything about you." Those words hit harder than expected. Salima's heart tightened. How could a stranger know her struggles? Her name? Her life? Kemi smiled, calm, confident, almost as if she could read her thoughts. "You've suffered long enough," she continued. "And I have a business offer for you. Something simple, but powerful enough to change your life completely." For a moment, Salima forgot to breathe. This sounded too good to be real. "What kind of business?" she asked cautiously. Without answering directly, Kemi reached into her bag and pulled out a thick bundle of cash, more money than Salima had ever seen in her entire life. She placed it in her hands without hesitation. Then she said something that didn't make sense at all. "You will collect used panties from the women in this village, and bring them to me." Silence. Salima blinked, unsure if she had heard correctly. "Panties?" "Yes," Kemi replied firmly. "Don't ask questions. Just do it. Bring me as many as you can, and I will make sure you never struggle again." There was no explanation. No details. Just instructions, and money. And then, just like that, Kemi turned and walked away, leaving behind confusion and temptation. Salima sat there for a long time, staring at the money in her hands. Her mind was full of questions. Why panties? What kind of business was this? Something about it didn't feel right. But something else felt even stronger. Hope. For the first time in years, she had a real chance to escape her life. And that was enough. The next morning, Salima made her decision that night. Tina didn't sleep. The silence inside her hut felt heavier than ever before. Every shadow on the wall looked alive, every small sound felt like something watching her. She sat curled in the corner, her arms wrapped tightly around herself, replaying what she had seen by the river, the candles, the chanting, and the moment those panties simply vanished into thin air. It wasn't normal. It wasn't human. By the time the first light of morning touched the village, Tino couldn't hold it in any longer. She ran straight to the elders, her breath uneven, her voice shaking as she tried to explain everything. At first, they listened with doubt, but the fear in her eyes told them this wasn't imagination. This was real. Within minutes, the village bell rang loudly, echoing through Zango. People rushed out of their homes, confusion turning into tension as they gathered in the square. When Salima arrived, something was different. Her face was calm, but her eyes carried fear. The head elder stepped forward. "Salima," he said firmly, "you've been accused of something that threatens this entire village. Speak. What are you hiding?" For a moment, she said nothing. Her hands trembled. Her lips parted, then closed again. I can't," she whispered. "I swore an oath. If I speak, I will lose my mind, or die." A wave of shock spread through the crowd. This was no longer suspicion. This was something dark. The elders didn't waste time. They called for the chief priest, a man known for dealing with things beyond ordinary understanding. When he arrived, the atmosphere shifted instantly. Without asking questions, he began chanting, his voice deep, controlled, powerful. The air grew still, as if even the wind was listening. Then he stopped and pointed directly at Salima. "Speak. You are protected." That was it. Her strength broke. She collapsed to her knees, tears streaming uncontrollably. "It's Kemi," she cried. "She's not just a woman, she's a ritualist. She forced me into this. Every time I bring the panties, she uses them. Not for business, but for something else." The villagers leaned in, their fear rising. "For power," Salima whispered. "For your lives. Your strength. Your luck, everything. She takes it and uses it to grow stronger." Silence. The realization hit harder than anything before. This wasn't trade. This was sacrifice. Panic spread quickly. The same items they had casually handed over had been used against them. The priest didn't hesitate. "We end this today," he said firmly. One by one, the women who had given their panties stepped forward, forming a circle. The priest began a powerful ritual, calling on the spirits of the land. The ground seemed to hum beneath them. The air grew heavy, charged with something unseen. "The curse is weakening," he announced. "But it won't end until Kemi is stopped." And just like that, fear turned into action. Armed with sticks, stones, and burning torches, the villagers followed the priest toward the river. The path felt darker than ever before. Even the trees seemed to lean in, watching. When they reached the old baobab tree, everything made sense. "This is where she hides," the priest said. They dug beneath the tree, and soon uncovered a hidden tunnel. The smell that came out of it was enough to make people step back. Rot, smoke, something unnatural. 2 men went in. Moments later, they came out, dragging Kemi behind them. She no longer looked powerful. No longer untouchable. Now, she looked desperate. "You fools," she screamed, her voice sharp like a blade. "You have no idea what you've done." But this time, no one stepped back. The priest began chanting again, and this time, Kemi reacted. She screamed, holding her head, her strength fading with every word. Inside her hidden space, villagers destroyed everything, candles, charms, strange objects, each one weakening her further. Until finally, she had nothing left. Her power was gone. Back in the village, she was tied to a tree, the same place where Joy once lived. But now, it was judgment. The elder spoke, his voice heavy. "You stole from us. You fed on our lives." There was no trial. No mercy. The villagers picked up stones. And in that moment, fear turned into rage. It ended quickly. And when it was over, silence returned. But the story didn't end there. The damage had already been done. The next morning, Tina woke up, blind. Darkness surrounded her completely. Her bravery had exposed the truth, but it came with a price. Salima suffered too. Her legs weakened, barely able to carry her weight. Every step reminded her of what she had done. The priest performed rituals again. Slowly, Tinu's sight returned, but Salima was not fully healed. She stood before the villagers, broken, ashamed. I was desperate, she cried. I was a